So somebody used the word empathy in, like, he was empathetic. I don't remember who used it, but what is empathy? Because I do want you to be empathetic to your kids, but what is empathy? It's an awesome textbook definition. The ability to put yourself emotionally into somebody else's shoes. Now, have you had the same experience? When dad says no to the phone, and he has like, my world is over. Do you have the same reaction when you can't have the new iPhone? No, you can't. But you have had experiences in life where you know what it's like when you can't have what you want. So, you know, some parents are like, well, does that mean I have to be like an addict to understand like he can't? No, you don't have, but you know what it's like to crave something and not be able to use it. Or you know what it's like to be depressed or sad or have your heart broken or whatever it is. So understand, like, going into somebody else's shoes is just understanding what it's like. You may not have a similar experience, but you've had the similar emotion. Now, we're great at talking about what is empathy. Oh, empathy is this, empathy is that. It's great, it's easy. What does it actually look like? What do you physically do to show empathy? It's the ability to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. What does that mean?
Listen to them.
Sure, listen to them. How often as parents do we come at, it's like, oh, yeah, I understand. I remember what it's like to grow up. Yeah. I remember what it's like not to get what you, oh, yeah, totally. Oh, it'll be okay. Tomorrow, it'll be okay tomorrow. Like, you just got to get through it, kid, but just buck up. And we're doing all this stuff to try and make them feel better. We're putting that padding in to cushion the blow. Does that feel good when somebody like comes at you? It's like, oh, I understand. Like, I'll pick on you guys. You're my divorced couple that show up. Oh, it's okay. Like, you'll get over it. It's like, with all due respect, fuck off. Like, don't tell me it's gonna be better, you know? It feels so disingenuous when people try to soften our blow for us. Like, no, it sucks. Don't tell me it's gonna be better tomorrow. I'm not worried about tomorrow. Like, today, it sucks. So let me have the suck. Like, let me just have it right now. It's gonna suck. Let me just deal with it. But we as parents try to soften the blow. The intention is wonderful. It really is. We don't want our kids to suffer. We don't want our kids to hurt. We want our kids to thrive and have every opportunity they possibly could have. And it's hard to watch our kids struggle. But to truly be empathetic with someone, it's not telling them it's going to be okay tomorrow. It oftentimes, I hear that you're struggling. And then you just sit. And oftentimes empathy looks a whole lot like quiet. And you like, if you're really truly being empathetic, going into somebody else's shoes, you're struggling, I'm gonna remember what it's like to struggle. That's generally a quiet experience. And you just sit there. You don't have to make it better. You don't have to make it okay. It's not your job. It's his job to figure out how to make it better and okay for him. I can't do that for him. And if I do try to do it for him, I'm robbing him from the experience of learning how to do it himself, which is what he's got to do as an adult. I'm not going to be around. At some point, I'm going to be dead. I want to hope that my kids can freaking handle their own crises. Or they're going to be away at college, or they're going to be moving away, going to get a job, or whatever they're doing. They're, you know, it's the American dream. Get your kids out of the house kind of thing. They have to be able to learn how to do it on their own. So when do they learn to do it? While they're under your roof. How do they learn to do it? By you letting them do it. So empathy oftentimes is just sitting. Now, some kids, like I'm pretty close to him right now. Some kids, you know, maybe she locks herself in a room. So the best, you can't get this close. So you're sitting in the door frame. You can't even come in her room. Maybe through the 15 minutes of being empathetic with her, you're sneaking in the room, kind of like this little shuttle, so you're physically getting closer. But you're just sitting there. How do you practice this? Go crash a funeral. It's brutal. You go watch a funeral, and this is a pretty extreme example, but you have people that have lost a loved one, and you can sit there and watch the discomfort and people passing through the line. Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. Oh, if there's anything, I'm here for you. There's nothing, like if it's your lost loved one, there's nothing I can say to make you feel better, but I'm so uncomfortable right now at your misery that I'm going to say whatever I can. It's horrible to watch at a funeral. It's so uncomfortable. You can literally see the physical space happen between people just by watching it. So I'm not really encouraging you to go crash a funeral, but the idea is like, think about it. When you're in a funeral and you're going through somebody's loved ones, like what can you possibly say to make it better? It's like, hey, like, I'm here. That's all I can really offer. I can't make it better. Oh, he was great. He was fabulous. He was such a respected member. That doesn't make me feel any better. Oh. Exactly. Yeah, because we're so uncomfortable. We try to make jokes. Absolutely. It's managing my own emotional experience. I'm going to be funny. So, empathy. Oftentimes, like, I want you to be empathetic with your kids, but oftentimes what that looks like is being quiet. Don't ever say the phrase, I remember what it's like. I didn't say you were saying this, but don't ever say, oh, I know what it's like to grow up. Any SUWS kid should respond like, you don't know what it's like to grow up today. And they're right. Frankly, the fact that you guys had cars when you were kids is a miracle because you're so friggin' old. Like, your kids just think you grew up in the Flintstone era. It's like, yeah, we rode on dates to horses. Like, they're right. We have no idea what it's like to grow up today. So don't say it. Because as soon as you say that, it's like, goodbye. Brr. They're not listening. All right? It's like, hey, it seems like you're struggling. It sounds like you're having a hard time. I'm not even assigning the feeling. I can tell that you're really struggling right now. An oppositional kid's not taking that, but it's like, hey, it seems like you're struggling. It appears that you have a hurt heart. You know? I'm allowing them the space to say, yeah, or no, that's not it. All right? I'm not assigning them a feeling. Questions? It's a whole lot of quiet. So, Junior wants to force you into making a crisis-based decision. Junior doesn't want you to be empathetic with them. Oh. He wants to go to a party. He wants to go, what's that kid's name?
James.
James. He wants to go hang out with James. Let's say there's a party on Friday night. When does James and the boy and the crew plan the party?
When do they plan it?
Yep.
Last minute, probably.
Not a chance. You guys were clearly good kids. You can't plan a party Friday night because it takes you a couple days to get the shit you're going to do. You need a couple days to get the good stuff, man. So you plan on Tuesday. But what am I asking you?
On the last minute, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Not even 15 minutes ahead of time. Hey, James is in the driveway. Can I go? It's shortening that time span. It's getting you in the crisis position. Yeah, sure, I've known about the party since Tuesday, but I am not letting you know on Tuesday because Tuesday to Friday is a whole lot of time for you to figure out some really good reasons to say no. But I want an answer right now. So what do you do? Can I go? James in the driveway. Can I go? Can I get 20 bucks? Can I go? Can I go? Can I go? What do you do?
No.
Say no, but then get into a big fight.
But you're not going to get in the fight anymore because you're not going to give the reason. And in your head, you can think, if you need an answer now, the answer is no. That's such a great dad line. You can think it. Don't say it, but think it. And it's like, hey, bud, I hear that you want to go to the party. Nevertheless, the answer is no. So we go through this, but now we want to give a reason. We want to give a reason to young William as to like, hey, here's the reasons why. When do you give the reason? You do, but so we're talking like now I do want to give him a reason. I want to let him know it's like, hey, bud, I'm willing to support your social experiences, but I want some heads up. Like I want to give you some time. So when do I start to give the reasons? Because you can give the reasons why, it's just not right now. When I ask for it, don't give the reason. It's the next day, 48 hours later. Hey, you remember the other day when you asked me about going to hang out with James? Well, the reason I said no is because I would really appreciate if you gave me some more time, because I would like to know who's going to be at the party, where it's going to be, you know. So in the future, if you give me some more time, I'm willing to consider it. And then I'm out. I don't wait for a back and forth. You share that sometimes you have a good dialogue back and forth with your daughter. Oftentimes when you're giving the reason, it's not a time for you to share your insight and me to share my insight. We're going to have this back and forth dialogue. It doesn't happen like that. There's nothing you can say to make me like your answer if I was your kid. So you just it's drive-by parenting. Here's the reason, and then I'm out. Think of it as planting seeds. You're planting all these seeds, and they're going to sprout, but they're going to sprout later. Yeah, and he's never going to be happy. If he can't go out with his buddy James, he's never going to be happy. No matter what you say, he's never going to like the answer, ever. Much like you guys, like when you can't get what you want, there's not really a reason that makes you feel good about, oh, that makes sense. No, I want what I want. If I can't have it, I'm kind of annoyed. You know, it's how humanity works. So do drive-bys. Hey, here's the reason why you can't have a phone. I don't know, what's he want?
A car.
Great, yeah, here's the reasons why I'm not gonna let you have a car, blank, 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 and then I'm done. I just leave.
Grandma bought one. I'm just kidding. We'll do it later.
Yeah, you take it apart and you put it in Grandma's yard. There you go, Grandma. Thanks for the yard art. So don't expect there to be a back and forth. That's the American dream of that happening. It's not going to happen. All right? So just do drive-bys. Hey, this is what I noticed, and I'm out. That's when you give your reason. It's not in the moment. Now, there's another time to do drive-by parenting. 5-to-1. It's a ratio we're after. Pre-SUWS, and so this is 5 positives to every 1 negative. Pre-SUWS, you're at like 1 to, 274. Like, your kids give you tons of negative things to see. However, that allows them, whenever you kind of come in with that, hey, I really wasn't happy about X, Y, and Z. God, I can never do anything right in this house. Nobody ever sees the good that I do. It's a frequent comment from SUWS kids. I can't do anything right. And they're done. They stop listening at that point. It's like, I'm a victim here. And it's like, well, no, you're the one who actually smoked the weed and brought it in the house. You're not the victim. I'm the victim. It's my freaking house. You broke the rule. How are you the victim? So we want to shape them by trying to get rid of this. We're going after 5-to-1. 5 positives to every 1 negative. And this is a great time to do drive-by parenting. Hey, I noticed that you're paying attention. I noticed that you picked up that sock. In your head, you're thinking, could you get the other sock that's right next to it next time, buddy? You're going to work hard for this. Hey, I noticed that your floor of your room is clean. He shoved everything in the closet. But at least the floor's clean, like step in the right direction. So you're going to have to work hard for this because your SUWS kids make it hard. They'll pick up the one dish and they'll put it on the sink or the counter next to the sink. It's like, could you just put it in the dishwasher? But we're not having that conversation. It's like, hey, I noticed that you picked up the dish. I'm using the word notice for a reason. Because we don't want to overpraise them. It's not everybody gets a blue ribbon. Oh, you picked up the dishes. Yay, here's a trophy. We're not doing that. I am using the word notice because it allows them to build intrinsic motivation. And it feels great to be noticed by people you love. Do it with your spouse. Hey, I noticed that you did my laundry. I noticed that you did this. It feels great to be noticed. So just go through life noticing the people that matter to you. Notice what they do. It's awesome. And it will absolutely shape behavior, which is what you're trying to do. So the broken record technique is trying to teach them no means no. No matter what you do, you're responsible for your own emotional experience. Not me, you are. But this is a way to help shape them in a positive direction so that when they give you that one thing, that is absolutely going to happen. That one thing is going to show up. When you go to do some coaching as a parent, having this ratio allows them to stay open and hear you more. They don't go immediately into that shutdown position like, Nobody sees what I do anyway around here. Like, screw you. They're more, like, if they're conditioned to like every day getting that 5-to-1 positive to negative ratio, they're going to stay open and listen. They're going to hang in more when you give the fab statement, when you give the reason, like, hey, the reason I don't want you to have a car is X, Y, and Z. Oh, okay. I'm not saying they're going to agree with it, but they're going to stay open a little bit longer. Fair? Super important. And again, not just with your kids. All this stuff is in any relationship that matters to you. Treat the relationship as the most important thing. It's not necessarily the task that's the most important thing. It's the relationship. So that's what you're after. All this stuff, whether it's your spouses, your grandmother, as long as you're not buying your kid a car, you know, whatever it is. The relationships that matter to you, treat it as the most important thing. Fair? Questions, comments, concerns? Nothing? Come on. Nothing?
Not from this segment.
All right. All right. How am I doing? Look at that. Wow. What do I do with my eraser? Nice. You guys are paying attention. What's that? I hear that you. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It must be difficult. Mm-hmm. What are you gonna do about it?
Of course, we helped you find
Yeah, you did. You rescued me. A bunch of rescuers, man. You just yeah. Next thing you know, I'm getting $20 and getting the family car. I know. So, this is really like I've kind of covered everything I typically cover in the first day. You're not a super chatty group, so it's making me go quicker, or allowing me to go quicker. I'm choosing to go quicker. What's that?
Did you hear some more stories?
Yeah, I'm good with stories. So I want to hammer a couple things. One, this is all skill work. So we talked about the center lane parent. You know, that fair, balanced, measured person. If you just try to do that, you're not going to end up there. You won't. So understanding how you feel in any given moment, giving fab statements, reflective listening, being empathetic, all those things, just doing those things allow you to stay in that center lane. So how do you get better? I am going to beat you up until you understand. You have to practice. Practice tonight, practice tomorrow, practice on your other kids. Some of your kids, who's the middle one?
Ward is the middle and Alec is the little
Alec.
one that does
He's
doing the hitting.
he's the little knucklehead, huh?
Yeah.
All right. So sometimes Alec's a pretty solid kid, though, right? Pretty decent little human, pretty awesome. So sometimes you're going to say no to Alec just to get the emotional response from him, so you can practice. I'm invested in your practice. Alec's going to be fine. You're not really going to screw him up anyway. So the idea is like you have to practice. So you practice on your easy kid. Sometimes you're just going to withhold stuff so you can practice. Not because you're cruel, but you guys need to practice. I elicited a response from you just being a stranger, you know, in a classroom. It's going to be all the more when he comes home, when Durant comes home, or all your kids come home. Your SUWS kid is like that college level thing. You can't go from 0 to college level without practicing. All right? So you have to practice. What's William's little brother's name?
Murdo, M-U-R-D-O. That's Murdoch without
All right.
You okay with that?
That's great.
His name for the...
No, that's fantastic. Murdo. So, like, you know, Murdo's a pretty solid little dude.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. He's very solid.
Great. So, you know, you got a couple weeks before William comes home, so you got to practice on Murdo. You have to practice. Much like you're asking your SUWS kids to do hard things. Last night sucked to be a SUWS kid because the temperature went from 80 to 30 or whatever, 37. That's a tough night in the woods. I love the woods. It's a tough night in the woods. They don't maybe love the woods as much as I do. It's hard to do that. You're asking them to do hard things. I need you guys to do the hard things too, which is practice. And so you just got to find ways to practice. All right? Practice on grandma, whatever her name is. I hear that you want to give my son a car. Nevertheless, the answer is no, grandma. You know?
You already did it.
It's all right. Drive it back.
I did.
Toss her the keys. You know? So practice, practice, practice. Is really all I have for today. What's your homework? Couple of fab statements. Yep, couple fab statements. Practice reflective listening. There's another thing that we do. We ask you to write something called letter from the heart. I don't need you to write a letter tonight. I'm not interested in writing anything. However, you all had a vision of being the parent you wanted to be. Whether it's because it was how you were raised, like, yeah, my parents did this, whatever it was pretty cool. I will try to replicate that. Or they did something, you're like, I'm never doing that. Ugh. You had a plan. Maybe you listened to books on tape or read. How many books are on Amazon on parenting? You know? 68,000. I mean, it's unbelievable. So you maybe read a book, who knows? But you had a vision of how you wanted to parent. None of you envisioned rehab. None of you are like, I can't wait to send my baby to wilderness. Maybe I did, but you guys didn't. All right? So none of you are on that path. This is the morning part. You in the introduction, you said you want to get through the morning. This is it. Like, you have to mourn the position that you want. You had dreams of what Junior would be. Maybe you didn't know, like, they're not going to be a doctor or whatever, but it's like, oh, it's going to be great. We're going to teach them to fish, whatever. You had the dream of doing. Racing bikes, whatever it is. So you had that. You now have a set of reasons you're no longer on that path, right? Things happen. And it's not all Junior did this, Junior did that. It's not that. There's a variety of things that happen. Such and such happened in life, and this is how I responded. This is how we responded as a couple. Whatever it is. There's situations that drove us off this path. So 1, think about the path you wanted to be on. Then think about how you got off the path. What happened? What were the obstacles? Step 3, you're now on a new path. You might as well start to have the conversation about what do we want to do now? Do we want to engage in this idea of relationship or not? Do we want to try this? Do we want to try that? What's our future? What's our vision? You guys have I'm not going to say a classic, but a big thing. Like, do we accept her as a girl or as a boy? Like, there's a whole lot right there. How do we accept our child? I don't have the right answer for that, but that's something you guys need to talk about. What are we okay with? What are we not okay with? You guys have the divorce conversation. Like, how does this fit in our household? How does this fit in our world? So start to think about, so what all those 3 paths do is line you up to write this thing called the letter from the heart. The letter from the heart is an incredibly vulnerable letter that you may not give to Junior while they're at SUWS. I still want you to write the letter because it's more of an exercise for you than for them. However, at some point, maybe they're 24, you give them the letter. Maybe you take the risk and it's like, hey, you're 18, like, here you go. So you may give it to them at SUWS, but you don't have to. It is an incredibly vulnerable letter because everything you write in that letter, when Junior's upset with you, they're going to use it as ammunition against you. They just will. So recognize it's coming. But I still want you to go through the process. What was I trying to do? What went wrong? Where do I want to go? Because you are on a new path. You have to be. And you have to go through the position of mourning. You got to go do your grief work. It is strictly grief work. It's like, I was trying to do this. This is what I hoped for the childhood for my kids. It didn't happen. So I got to mourn that. Let it go. But you got to go through the stages of grief. It's just a classic exercise, the stages of grief. Fair? Okay. So, what do I want you to do tonight? I want you to go chat with one another. I want you to go listen to one another. I want you to practice reflective listening. Go do it. I'm coming after you. Reflective listening. Fair enough?
Sure.
All right.
Wait, do I?
Tonight.
No. So is he going to have to listen to what I say?
Oh! Yeah. So.
Because I have
So you aren't in control of whether or not he listens. You can be assertive.
Right.
Lance, I would like you to listen to what I'm saying. Whether or not he chooses to listen,
I would also
I'm
like to
challenging
hear what
you.
I'm saying.
I am challenging you to listen.
Yes.
It was.
That's not where our problem is.
What's that?
That's not where our problem is.
Okay. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying it was an interesting dynamic. What you showed me in the stick exercise was really fascinating to me. And if we were in couples work, I would come after
Was
that.
it 23 years of,
I don't know. You tell me. I don't know. Was it 23 years? So it was just interesting. So and I have an exercise tomorrow that's going to drive you nuts then. Be fun.
maybe I'll just leave.
You could, but you'll miss my wisdom. All right. So tomorrow morning, we'll get started again at 9 o'clock. Yeah, we'll get started again tomorrow at 9. Anybody have any special requests for tomorrow? Where are you staying? Asheville, Black Mountain?
Asheville.
So
Downtown.
great. So I'm a big fan of date night. So Black Mountain and Asheville are great places. So go walk around, hold hands, listen to each other.
Go with weed.
Good Brussels sprouts. What?
You said listen to each other?
I'm sorry, what?
You said date night and listen to each other.
All right. Good?